What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the Vanguard Project. My name is Austin Jardine, and happy freaking Monday. I hope you all had a great weekend. Enjoyed your time over Easter Sunday. Spent some time maybe at church with your family, eating some food. I know that here soon, or I guess later on this evening, I'll be eating with my family, recording or I guess editing up on Easter. So getting some things taken care of. Maybe a little bit last minute for an episode drop this weekend, but here we are, and I am excited because today's episode with Drew is a lot of fun. I'd been wanting to reach out to him for quite some time, and finally shot him a note on the Instagrams. We got connected, and his story is a lot of fun. The cowboy action mounted shooting, which is super cool. But before we get into it, for those of you maybe new to the show, getting after it for the first time, or just need a refresher, my goal with this podcast really is growth through story, strength through community. And what I do to embody that, or at least I do my best to embody that by having folks share their stories. I sit down with them, have them really kind of spend time sharing how they got to where they're at, some of the life lessons that they've learned, why they chose a particular path, and some of the things that they've learned along the way, hopefully to give you some tools, tips, tricks, things, kind of different ways of thinking in order to either pursue your own passion, find a community to join in on, some motivation if you're losing it, whatever the case may be. And so kind of throughout that conversation, I do my best to keep it more of an 80-20, right? I'm not really interested in talking about myself. So I do my best to do kind of the active listening and really asking as best as I can deeper than skin surface or skin deep questions to really, get you thinking and answer some questions. So that's kind of my goal and style. And like I said, growth through story and strength through community. So at the end of it, feel free to reach out to the guys that I'm interviewing, guys and gals that I'm interviewing. Find them on social media, go get plugged in, check out Practice Score, or whatever website it is that we're talking about to go get you plugged into competitions, photography, hunting, whatever the case may be, depending on who I'm talking to. So today's episode, like I said, is with Mr. Drew Wallace, who does the cowboy action mounted shooting, which is super freaking cool. But before we jump into it, if you don't mind taking a quick second to leave a rating and review, follow the show, follow me on Instagram, just the Vanguard Project with periods in between. Periods in between, it will mean the world to me, right? I love to see and get involved with everybody, like I said, because, the podcast itself focuses on others, but, social media is where, you get to see what life looks like beyond the mic for me, But otherwise, I've been extremely fortunate to have partnered with several companies kind of in this venture with the podcast, and one of them is Black Rifle Coffee, and I am super excited. I love Black Rifle Coffee. I've met a lot of folks there. They are amazing people. I've drank just a ton of coffee, and it is about summertime, like it's starting to warm up a little bit, and it's about time to go get some fresh gear. And I've actually got a code. It's just Vanguard for 20% off, and it covers quite a bit of stuff, including some gear in the shop. So if you need some fresh tees, tank tops, whatever, maybe some new mugs, or if you need to re-up your coffee supply, use just code Vanguard, 20% off Black Rifle's website, and you'd be good to go for the summer. One fell swoop. Even if you needed a subscription, 20% off. Use code Vanguard on Black Rifle's website. Otherwise, I'm going to stop rambling. Be sure to use that code Vanguard for 20% off. Follow me on the Instagrams, and we're going to roll a wicked awesome episode with Mr. Drew Wallace. So let's hit it. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the Vanguard Project. My name is Austin Jardine, and I'm excited because I finally reached out to somebody that I've wanted to get a hold of for a little while now. And that'd be Mr. Drew Wallace. You do some pretty fancy stuff. You're kind of I don't know the right wordage for it, but you're like a mounted cowboy action shooter guy, right? I don't know how would you describe what it is that you do?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on. And I guess the appropriate title is a professional cowboy mounted shooter. So that's the name of the sport is cowboy mounted shooting, and I've been doing this now for the better part of the last, probably 5 years, full on traveling and competing.
That's awesome. So maybe before we get into it, maybe, and not to steal your intro, do you mind kind of just introducing yourself? And clearly I'm excited about the mounted, because that's the mounted horse stuff, because that's kind of what I see, because we connected through Instagram, but I don't really know your whole story.
Yeah.
So do you mind maybe introducing
Yeah.
yourself?
Yeah. So, my name is Drew Wallace, and yeah, I live here on the East Coast in Massachusetts. Not by choice. That's where I was born and raised. But my background is really started not just growing up around sports and horses, but then joined the Army. I was a GWAT baby. Right after college, joined right after 9/11, and served in the 75th Ranger Regiment, and essentially was deployed from basically 2003 up to 2009. Did an enlistment with the Ranger Regiment, and then worked for Blackwater Worldwide, and did that through basically my whole 20s. Was dedicated to being overseas and serving a higher cause, and then that's the meat of my 20s. And then after that, it was all about figuring things out, finding the right path for me, finding a job, finding a passion, building a family, and that's brought me to where I am today. And I'm probably as happy as I've ever been today, but really it's been through kind of a lot of different trials and tribulations, and figuring out that what makes me, passionate about life.
Yeah.
Um, you know,
That's awesome, man. I think you're the first ranger that I've sat down and spoke with, so I'm kind of excited. I've talked to quite a few, folks from different branches and specialty units, but I don't think I've sat down with a ranger yet. So I'm pretty excited. Maybe starting from the beginning, right? Because I guess my process or goal is kind of to tell the story, right? What led you kind of down the Army path? Was it really 9/11? Were you in college and were like, dude, this is not for me? How did Army come about?
yeah, I mean, the kind of origin story, when I was a little kid, I knew I had an interest in the military. Certainly, playing like full camo, fatigues, face paint, playing the most dangerous game in my neighborhood, or playing manhunt with friends. I was always drawn to the sort of fantasy of being a soldier, and I think that happened at a very young age, like I'm talking, 7, 8, 9. And when you have those sort of childlike sort of fantasies, they definitely stick with you. You hear a lot of kid guys who they're fired, military, whatever. It all, or the origin for it began when they were really young, and so that was me as a kid, just super interested in the military. I used to go to Army Navy stores, buy like old jackets, like Vietnam era, like fatigues and medals and boxes and all sorts of stuff. And my parents thought I was just wacko, but I loved it, and I would wear all sorts of different stuff to school. And anyhow, that kind of carried on for a while. Was always athletic, played sports, every sport: hockey, lacrosse, soccer, wrestled, did everything. And really, you have that kind of childlike dream, and then and then when you get older, there's a moment where you can kind of make a decision for it to become a reality. And that really happened when I was 21. I was in about my last year of college, and then that's when 9/11 happened. I was out in California at a place called Pepperdine University, studying out there and just living the good life. I was like, I had long blonde hair, surfing a lot, rarely went to class, like played sports, just like living this like privileged youth. And when 9/11 happened, I had this sort of, like many guys, had this visceral reaction.
Yeah.
And just kind of was just like angry. Um, and it was really at that point, it was a call to arms, more or less. Um, and I knew at that moment that I needed to, do something about it. And they needed able-bodied young men who could fight. Why should I stay here at home, living this kind of good life while, other people go off to fight this war? Um, and that was it. It was really 9/11. And there were a lot of other folks like that, like me, and there were, who, answered the call. And that was it. I finished college, and then soon after college, I enlisted. I had the option to be an officer or be enlisted, and I chose to go the enlisted route. The old sort of adage, you know, officers make policy, the enlisted enforce it. And I wanted to kick down doors and do the fun stuff, and so that was kind of the path, and 9/11 was it.
Yeah, so I'm taking notes. So it's interesting because, the 9/11 seems to be a pretty big or a pretty common thing as far as the origin story, right? But something that you mentioned that I think is interesting, right, is you had like kind of a conscious decision to make it a reality, right? Where you kind of could have easily have said, yeah, I'm too old for this. I don't want to do it. Somebody else will, go take care of it, right? What led you to, I guess, making the decision, the conscious decision to go enlist?
I think my family had always sort of preached the idea of selfless service, giving back to others, um, and I had gone to some different, I guess, say institutions that had pushed that kind of philosophy as well. I'd gone to a camp once, a place called Camp Dudley, and their motto was "the other fellow first," putting other people's needs ahead of yours. Or the high school that I went to, this place called Holderness, they had a big service program where there was just, you did tons of community service, giving back to others. And so I, kind of through my formative teenage years, I developed a lot of this sort of sense of like, giving back, giving into yourself, like, that your life isn't really more or less fulfilled until you've, given up all of yourself to something else. And I think that's what kind of helped, make, push me over the edge to make it a reality, not just the visceral sort of anger that someone would do this. But it was a combination of those things, my childlike sort of mentality of just, it was a dream, to these formative years of, being involved in service, and then just having that opportunity. It was like someone knocking on your door, like, boom, 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 like, hey, we need you. Like, this is your chance. Like, you want to serve?
Yeah.
Like, if you're not going to do it now, like, don't do it ever, and that's not the case. I mean, they'll always take you, and guys have, since I've left the military, my younger brother joined, I guess probably in late 2008 or 9, I mean, but it was just such an opportunity. It was such a moment that, it all made sense, and many years led up to it.
Yeah. Okay. So, man, so this might be kind of another interesting question thinking about it. But when you did decide to go enlist, right? Um, Knowing that you were kind of living the life, it's a big risk, right? It's a big change of pace, change of culture. What did it take for you to feel comfortable and willing to make that change, other than, the visceral sense of anger and kind of sense of duty, I suppose?
I mean, it's tough. I mean, yeah. Um, well, I guess I'll say this. So like when I finished college, and then that kind of like late summer and fall, I had the opportunity to work like actually on a boat, on a sailboat, because I finished college and I drove back east, and I was like, I was like, I need to enlist, but but there's some other people too who were telling me, well, like, listen, you enlist, like, you're going to go over, you're going to get killed, you're going to die or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So there were some other people who were, in a sphere of influence who were also like questioning what I was doing. And so what I did is actually I got a job on a boat for basically like a couple months. I helped sail a boat back from the Mediterranean back to the Caribbean, to kind of mull it over. It was basically it took 30 days to sail across the Atlantic. And I used that 30 days to just like, I'd already met with a recruiter. I knew I wanted to do it, but I used those 30 days to really like think hard, because it's a life-changing decision, joining the military and, and whatnot. And when I got back, I was in St. Martin's, finishing working on the boat. And I remember like going out to like some bar in St. Martin, and again thinking to myself, like kind of like, what the fuck am I doing here? Like, like, I mean, and I kind of hit a breaking point where it was so easy to give up everything that I had or like experiences that I was having, that I was just like I don't need this. Like this isn't giving me any fulfillment or meaning. And that was it. So it like to answer your question, I basically hit just kind of a breaking point where I was like, what do I have to lose? I've had a great life already. Let's do this. My country needs me. And that was it.
Yeah. And that breaking point came from, I guess it wasn't necessarily like alone time-ish on the boat to say, okay, great. I'm already able to give up my experiences so far and what I have built already to go. Okay. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I think some self-reflection, like I'm a profound believer in self-reflection, being alone, away from other people's influence, because we're so easily swayed by what other people say, or do. And if you remove yourself from that, oftentimes you're able to really think clearly about, what path you want to take. And that was it. And again, I say that too, like, for example, like my grandmother, I remember, who I love, when I told her I wanted to join the military, she thought I was crazy. She's like, oh, it's a terrible idea. You're going to get killed. I think you should go to, business school and this and that. And like, I was like, well, I don't want to do that. I was like, so yeah, again, I mean, self-reflection, time alone in any chapter of your life, I think can be really profound. Just allows you to really think clearly,
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, you come back, you go back to the recruiter, you enlist, and you wanted to be the enforcer rather than the the maker of policy. Did you go in knowing like, hey, I do want to join the Army and I want to go like the Ranger route and like kick ass, or was that?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah. I had a close friend who had been in the Ranger Regiment, so I knew that was the route that I wanted to go.
Mm-hmm.
So when I enlisted, I asked for a Ranger contract, which was, basically it lays out your path. I mean, you still got to pass everything, but you go through, basic training, advanced individual training, AIT, then you go to, airborne school, and then you go to the Ranger Indoctrination Program, or RIP as it was called. And now it's called RASP, the Ranger Assessment and Selection Program.
Okay.
So I knew out of the gate, I was like, this is what I want to do. I was like, I don't want to go in to be like a gas pumper. I was like, I want to go in to like kick ass and like do some high speed shit.
Right.
He's like, why not? I was like, like,
if you're gonna do
test my ability. Yeah, I mean, let's fucking go. Let's do something fun. And reach, try to really, push the envelope and push the threshold. And that was it. I knew right out of the gate, that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah. So I'm not super familiar. Like I was telling you, I think you're the first ranger that I've spoken to. I'm not super familiar with what rangers are charged with. Do you mind kind of telling me
Yeah.
maybe what you guys do in whatever way you can?
Yeah. I mean, so in short, the Ranger Regiment, it's a small unit, and there's multiple battalions that are spread throughout the country. But there's only probably now they might be a little bit bigger, but a few thousand guys in the Ranger Regiment. And it's a small light infantry unit, and the primary responsibility today is really direct action raids. So basically, any sort of like killer capture, going after a target, mostly during nighttime, and that's really what they're tasked with doing. Explosive, dynamic entries into buildings, finding who's ever there. Again, killer capture, and then go home. We're not, Rangers aren't there to train foreign militaries. That's the Green Berets job. We're not necessarily there to interrogate folks. That's someone else's job. We're there to like blow down the door and get who needs, get who we need.
Yeah, get the job done.
Get the job done. Yeah. And historically, like in the past, the Rangers were really known for like seizing airfields. So, things like the invasion of, Grenada or Panama, they would, the Rangers would go in and basically, seize the airfield, secure it so that then, larger aircraft would come in and land, and bring in more troops and vehicles and stuff. And so, Rangers have been around for, years,
Yeah. So did you have done research prior to say, hey, the ranger route's where I want to go, or did you learn about that through your buddy plus a recruiter?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. I mean, like I say a little bit, like I had like a book, like this old, this like, like big hardcover, like, 8x10, even bigger than that book, where it's like, it's more of like a recruiting book, that kids look through. And it's like, Navy, Air Force, Marine, it's like, and then the Army section is like, oh, Army Rangers, like, this sounds really cool. I mean, I didn't have a whole lot to go off of. All I knew was like, I knew I wanted to join the Army. I knew that these were my options. I could be a Green Beret and do this, or a Ranger and do that. But I had, talked with a good friend who said, he's like, you're athletic, you're aggressive, you fit in really well in the Ranger Regiment, and that's really was my main sort of influence of going that direction.
Okay. Okay. So then as far as the pipeline goes, for guys maybe that are, interested in joining, interested in maybe putting together a contract or a packet for it, what does that look like? And, what did your, I guess, what was your mentality like going through that helped you, I guess, get selected and ultimately join the regiment?
Yeah. I mean, for anybody who's interested in at least, joining the Ranger Regiment, or any like special operation branch, I mean, I think, really in order to prepare for it, I mean, you have to really want it. I mean, my fear of, failure, I think, was greater than my will to succeed. For me, it was like failure was just not an option, because it was like, not to say the humiliation of it or the disappointment. It was just for me, I just wanted, to do really well and make it all the way there. Because also, like, if you wash out, you get sent to, just the regular conventional Army, or say you're trying to be a SEAL, if you wash out, you just go to the fleet. And that's not why I joined the military. I joined to, do high speed stuff and try to be part of the best. So the mental aspect is the most critical. Physically, I mean, you got to be in good shape. I think a lot of guys put too much emphasis on the physicality of it. I mean, it's brutal, but I've seen guys who, are 150 pounds soaking wet, just to, destroy any sort of, D1, athlete, because they're more mentally strong, so yeah, in short, like if you're focusing on, if you're looking to get into that, into the military and any sort of special operations, you've got to work, you got to really want it. I think you got to have the mental prowess to succeed and to not fail, not focus too much on the physicality.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't have, kind of like we were saying, I don't have any firsthand experience with, military life or anything like that. But having, you having gone through it for 6 years or so and kind of lived the life, what are the things that maybe you wish you'd have known going into it? Maybe wish, maybe your buddies might have known or could benefit from, guys that might be in it now that you're like, dude, this would help me if I was you. Would have helped me if I was you.
Yeah, I think having a sense of some sort of like career path. I mean, when I joined, it was like, felt like the whim of, and I was the whim of whoever was in charge of me. I don't really think I thought I had much control over where I go or what I do. So I think having some sense of like better options, like again, like even when I joined, I had kind of joined the Ranger Regiment based off of one guy who I knew kind of well, but not like super well. So I didn't really know all the different options and things that I could do. And I think that goes for a lot of guys who join. Like, and you see a lot of young kids get taken advantage of by recruiters and stuff too. I mean, so having a better sense of like what my career path could be or should be, might have been helpful. So otherwise I felt like super prepared for everything, I felt mentally prepared for most stuff, physically definitely, because I was always athletic. But yeah, probably having a sense of some sort of career path or where you're going to go.
Yeah. When you say career path, is that just like your military tenure, or is that throughout military and then beyond?
Yeah, military tenure, because like when I joined, and then you kind of go through, you go through basic AIT, airborne, RIP, then you went to your unit, then you would go through Ranger school, then you can't come back, and then you're just like you're deploying. We were deploying all the time, basically every more or less like 5 months, and you just kind of enter into this sort of not a meat grinder, but a little bit. You're just sort of like just constantly going through this. Yeah, and you're like when does this Ferris wheel end? Like, and it doesn't. Like, and that's I think probably why one reason I left, because I was like, is this it? I was like, is this the only path for me? Is just keep doing this, and you move up in rank and you get more responsibility. I mean, you're still at the same unit, and you could go to some other units, but and those opportunities were sometimes encouraged, but not often. And so I think that was ultimately when why I ended up getting out. But yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of like career development. I found in the military.
Okay. So then when you retired, it was genuinely based off of then just was it really just tired of the meat grinder, or were you like, hey, I need something different or more?
Yeah, I was like, so I'd done like 4 deployments, or rotations, and I think I was just sort of like, I was kind of burning the candle at both ends, like definitely drinking a lot. It wasn't like a sustainable lifestyle, and I recognized that. I was like, I can't keep doing this. Just like, not even necessarily the train up in the deployments, but it was just like I could tell, me as a person, I was like this. I had no family or anything. Immediate. I mean, I had my parents and my brothers and that, but I wasn't married or had any kids or nothing like that. Plenty of like dysfunctional relationships, with girlfriends or whatnot. I mean, but nothing stuck because, you're just like, I'm not gonna say I was a train wreck, but I was just, drinking a ton and just not really a functioning human outside of my military. When I was working in the military, I was great. Deployed is great at my job. I think and everyone I worked with would say that. But outside of that, it just wasn't sustainable.
Yeah.
So I found that the best call for me was, I was like, hey, you know what? I was like, this can't be it. I was like, I'm capable of doing other stuff. I'm going to go do it,
Yeah.
So that was kind of it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Sorry, go for it.
No, but I mean, the time in service was great. I mean, I went to Iraq twice, Afghanistan twice. I went through EMTI school. I did the best Ranger competition twice. Had a really good experience. Have made awesome friends, some guys I'm still like super close with. The time overseas was meaningful, challenging. I'm just a better human for having gone through that, and just so much more appreciative of really everything I've got now. And people ask, I always say, I think the grass is going to be greener. It eventually is. I mean, now it is. I mean, this is 10 years plus. It took a while, but
yeah. So in order for it to get greener, right? I know that when we first started talking, you said right about now is the happiest you've probably ever been. What did it take for you to get to this point? I mean, what did that look like post-retirement?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of $1 million question too for a lot of guys. And I was thinking about that today too before we were going to talk, because I thought that was something that probably the most profound item, because when I look at guys who, were in the military or even like played like D1 sports, like guys whose identity was, built by, what they did, playing a sport at a super high elite level, or, serving in the military at a high elite level, or even not, just, being involved in something that was meaningful and that helped create an identity for themselves. People who have done that, particularly guys, when you leave that, it's really challenging to find something again that makes you feel that same way.
Yeah.
I think a lot of guys struggle with that, because listen, I mean, when you come down from that hilltop, a lot of, people they get married, they have kids, they get a job that they may not like, and then they're like here sitting there and they're like fuck, they're like, is this it? Like, is this like, man, like I miss doing all the things, and like, you want to relive it, but like, you don't want to live your life kind of looking in the review mirror, like just constantly thinking about, hey, this is what I was,
Mm-hmm.
And I certainly went through that a bit. When I left the military, I was searching to, identify myself. Who was I? What defined me? And it's not just your past; it's what you're doing currently. And a lot of times, if you don't enjoy what you're currently doing, it's really, it can really decrease your motivation and make you pretty unhappy. So, that's what you work at. You work at, you finding new things that you like to do that you identify with, and then they make you happy and give you passion. And for me, that took, several years to find, but I found it. And again, it reconnected back to my childhood. There are things in my childhood that I loved, which was the horses, and I rode horses when I was a young kid. That's a whole separate story. But then once I left the military, I went through a bad marriage, got divorced, had some kids who were wonderful, but and then found horses again, like rediscovered my love for like these animals, and then found this sport, which is the fucking best thing I've ever discovered. Short of my wife now, I got remarried and I have a 9-month-old, but that's been awesome, and I've been able to identify with that, and for me, now the grass is finally greener because so I'm kind of going on a tangent there, but
no, it was good.
Ultimately, when you're a guy, you really guys want to identify with what they do, and
right.
If you were functioning at an elite level, military, or even in business or sports, and then you come down from that hill, like it can get fucking low, and so guys need to find things that they love again, or things that they loved when they were younger, or new things, whether it be motocross, rally racing, jujitsu. I don't fucking care what it is. I mean, just you find something that gives you passion, that makes you feel like a man, and you fucking do it.
Yeah. So to put it in like perspective, so you said it took a couple years for you to find, the horses and the shooting. How many different activities did it take before you found that? I mean, was it like you tried 15 different things and you're like, this all fucking sucks?
I know. Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, when I got out of the service, I did the private contracting thing for a while just to make some money for Blackwater. And then I came back and I was really involved in like fitness. I went to school for it. I loved it. And that was kind of where I was identifying with, like doing a lot of personal training, CrossFit, all that stuff. And listen, like I know a lot of dudes who get out of the military and like fitness is their fucking jam. Like they just fucking work out and they just it's what they live for. And I get it, because listen, like what doesn't make you feel like a fucking stud than deadlifting 400 pounds or whatever. It's like it's cool. So I definitely got involved in that. I was skydiving a bit. What else? I mean, I didn't have a ton of time. I was doing some motocross stuff, nothing crazy. That was about it, but then it was like horses had always been like, when I was a kid, I'd always been in love with horses and stuff. And I can tell how I got into that. I mean, so I was, and also too, so firearms. So guys get out and they're still using firearms. Okay. And I was doing that. I was basically at the range in California, just shooting my AR, shooting pistols and stuff, just having a good time. I was kind of like, kind of over it at that point, because it's like plinking targets after a while, get boring. And behind me, there was like this place I was at, Mike Rahaghi's. There was a huge like horse arena. And I look back, I see these guys fucking riding around on horses and they're fucking shooting. And I was like, what the fuck is this? I was like, whoa. And so like, I put down my AR, my pistol in the bay, and I walked over and I was like, what is this? I was like, this looks fucking awesome. I was like, I didn't even know this sport existed. And they're like, oh, this is cowboy mounted shooting. And I was like, whoa. I was like, how can this even exist? And I didn't know about it. And at the time I had just gotten a horse, just like a trail horse. And I was like doing some trail riding and just kind of getting back into horses. And I loved it. And they're like, come take a lesson. And so I brought my horse and I ended up gun breaking my horse, started taking some lessons, practicing all by myself, and then like entered into like my first competition. And I was terrible. I mean, I was just like, pew, pew, like, like just so
Just an
uncoordinated.
absolute hazard. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, this is a train wreck. Trying to find my holster on, it's just like this. But you got to start somewhere. And that was it. It was like after that, I was just hooked. I was like, this is so fun. Everything, it's challenging, it's dynamic. You're learning about the horse, there's different patterns, the guns, the smell of everything, just everything combined was like, this is for me. And that was it. And that was like in 2016 that I first started, I found it.
Yeah.
And now I've got 4 horses now. I compete all over the place, sponsored. I mean, it's like, it's a dream come true, and but again, with horses, like my love of horses started again when I was like, 10, 11 years old. That's when I first kind of started riding. And so it came for full circle. I joke with people. I said, when I was a little kid, I wanted to be kind of 2 things. I wanted to be a soldier and I wanted to be a cowboy.
Now you're a bit of everything.
Yeah, I was like, it's dream come true. But it took a while to find it. And so back to your like original sort of thing, I had to go through a few things to really find what was going to make me tick and make me happy. And right now, this is it. I mean, it's been a blessing, it really has.
Yeah, I didn't know that it was even a sport. Like, I had no idea. It looks like a whole hell of a lot of fun, because I know they've got, like, my uncle does cowboy quick draw, and I know they've got the cowboy action shooting, right? But I had no idea that they had mounted shooting, which is really fucking cool. How do you gun break a horse? Like, I know breaking a horse, but gun breaking to me seems counterintuitive.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so some horses don't respond as well to the gunfire. Sure. The majority will. I mean, it's really like it's really just conditioning. I mean, the more you expose an animal to something, often, and if you do it gradually, oftentimes they'll get used to it and it won't bother them as much. And that goes for anything, any dogs or anything. That's just they're easily trained animals, and so they get used to it. But yeah, the sport itself, it's definitely an obscure sport. What I love about it is like there's no other like more of an American sport than like cowboy mounted shooting, because like we're like to go to the country like the Wild West, like Old West. Like what other fucking country has like fucking cowboys like this? Like maybe South America has their own like the gachos or whatever, but like like we had fucking Doc Holliday, Wyatt Earp, like that is like such a period of like American history that is so unique. And it's just fucking awesome. I mean, just and the guns are fun. Like, I mean, I don't even shoot my ARs or semi-auto pistols much anymore. I mean, I shoot my concealed carry gun, which is still a wheel gun. There's this little Ruger LCR, but like single action, lever action stuff. I mean, it's so much fun. It's a real fun, fun firearms to interact with, because they're just fun to shoot,
So I freely admit that I think after I messaged you like to see if you'd be interested, I really like started going down the rabbit hole of lever actions, and like I spent probably a whole week just like reading. I sold one of my ARs and I had like a couple $100 like sitting here, and I was like, I'm only a couple of $100 more away from buying like a lever action. Like I really want one now. Yeah, because they are super cool. They're so neat. So
yeah, they're just fun to. I mean, they're just fun to shoot. And I mean, it's just more mechanical is all, and there's like a element of nostalgia with it all. I mean, that these are the type of guns that our forefathers shot, and that's what I love about it. And single action guns are great too. I mean, they're fun to shoot.
Yeah. Are you shooting like full size like center fire rounds? Or are you shooting? I mean, what does a match
So
look like? I have no idea.
yeah, so the sport itself, so cowboy mounted shooting, you're scored on accuracy and time.
Okay.
So you have 10 targets out there on of course a stage, and you have 10 rounds, and you're scored on how many targets you hit and how fast you complete the course. So you're on your horse, you got two guns, 5 rounds each gun. You will basically race across an automatic timer and then have to navigate the course and shoot all the targets and then get back across the timer as fast as you can. And you're shooting black powder and you're shooting that at basically balloons. And so what pops the balloon is really the sparks from the black powder.
Okay.
And you can be effective hitting those targets. I mean, a target could be 1 foot away or you could be 15 feet away. I mean, and it's not as easy as it might look. I mean, if you're 15 feet away, like you need to be right on.
Sure.
Or if you're a little further away, you might shoot even just slightly above the target so that your sparks, traverse down. And so, a stage could be anywhere from like 10 seconds to like 22 seconds,
Yeah.
So like you could, that's 10-second course. I've run some, 10-second courses before. I mean, you're shooting 10 rounds and getting back within, in 10 seconds. It's fast. Yeah. So, and then there's disciplines, there's pistol, there's a rifle class, there's a shotgun class, and then there's a cavalry class. In the cavalry class, the only difference is you have to dress in like a period clothing, Union or Confederate, and you use these like flap holsters. I mean, it's kind of it's a little hokey sometimes, but the other classes you just dress, you got to have a cowboy hat on, chaps, shirt. There's some dress code requirements, but just dress like a cowboy and you're fine,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So are you flipping between rifle and pistol, or is it like you're doing one stage just pistol, one stage just rifle?
I do everything. So like
Okay.
I have one horse that I'll run main match, which is just pistol.
Okay.
I'll run that horse on. And then I have another horse that I'll use on my long guns, so rifle and shotgun. And then I do cavalry too, and I have my horse, one other horse for that. So I always travel with two horses, and I split up what I'm doing on each. Because the stage may only last 10 seconds or 20 seconds, but like you'll get on your horse like an hour ahead of time,
Yeah.
warm up, move around. It's it reminds me a bit of like a 40-yard dash.
Yeah.
You do all this preparation and work, mobility, stretching, hydration, all this stuff to go out and basically run, 40 yards as fast as you can. And that's kind of what a stage of mounted shooting is like. You're doing all this preparation for a very short amount of time, which is scored very like literally. It's not like figure skating where it's subjective, or even reining, for instance, or you're scored on how fast you do it and how many targets you hit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dang. Okay. So then when it comes to the horses, are you doing all your own training and like, I guess, I don't even know. Again, this is something I have no idea. I'm not very familiar with horses, right? But like, are you doing everything related to horse upkeep, training, fitness, stretching, whole kit and caboodle?
Yeah. So all my horses are here at my house. And so we'll ride, we're riding at least every other day. It just depends on, what we've got going on. But yeah, I mean, all the upkeep and everything is, I do here. We'll practice, once a week or once every 2 weeks. We do a lot of trail riding, a lot of slow work, just to keep them moving and bending correctly and all that jazz. I take really good care of them. I mean, they stand on this TheraPlate every day. It's big vibrating like plate that like increases circulation in their legs. I mean, I have a Magna Wave, this electromagnetic therapy I use on them. I mean, they get,
They get
they get
pampered.
pampered. Yeah, I mean, they're beasts, and I mean, they're like these like muscle bound, like, you know, beasts of horses. I mean, and I take good care of them. I mean, when we travel, I put I have these soft rides, these big gel inserts that they stand in, wrap legs. So like, when they get they're orthopedic shoes. Because we'll trailer, might be in the trailer for like 10 hours.
Yeah.
So, I want to take care of them and take care of their feet. Yeah, there's a lot of upkeep. I mean, but back to like the idea of like finding something that you love. For me, like these horses become like your pals, they're like they're your friends. I mean, just like, even just like your dog too. Like, and my dog's laying here, by my feet, sleeping. It's like they just become your friends, and there's something that's fun about taking care of, animals that you rely on and trust so much, and particularly these animals, because you trust them a lot. When you're riding super fast and you drop the reins and you're shooting, you're like, you better trust that animal. And so yeah, I mean, it's you get this rapport with them, and I love my horses. I think, if you don't, it's you shouldn't have them.
So is the cowboy mounted shooting, is it a nation or a national thing, or is it
Yeah,
just East Coast? It is? Okay.
nope, it's all over. So like, where was I was in Virginia last weekend, got back Sunday night. I'm going to Mississippi. I leave, it's a week from today, for the national championship. It's down in Tunica, Mississippi. So I'll be there for like a good week.
Yeah.
So I leave here in a week from today. Yeah, it's everywhere. California, every state generally has like a club. And that's how it works. Is like, there's events all over in every state, but people join a club, and there's a club of mounted shooters, and it could be 100 or so people. It just varies, how big it is.
That's a lot of people though. That's really cool though.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably a club in Idaho too. I know there's one in Utah, there's one in Colorado, there's a few in California. I don't think Oregon or Washington have. Well, Washington has a club. I think Oregon does.
I'm gonna have to look.
But
Do they
yeah,
have
I
a
mean,
website?
Yeah. So the website is cmsa.com. So it's a Cowboy Mounted Shooting Association,
Okay.
and
Yeah, I'm
you
gonna
on
look.
there you can find. Yeah.
That'd be sweet. Yeah, I'd love to go watch. I mean, I don't have a horse. I don't even know if I know anybody that has a horse, but it'd be a lot of fun just to go. Like, I feel like that's one of the shooting sports that would actually be fun to go spectate. Because like long range matches,
It
unless you
is.
know
Yeah.
what the hell's going on, are it's boring as fuck to watch.
Yeah, PRS. Yeah, it gets. You can't really tell what's going on. I mean, cowboy mounted shooting is fun to watch. I mean, I love all rodeo type sports. I mean, bull riding,
Yeah.
roping, even barrel racing. I mean, it's pretty fun to watch too sometimes. Yeah, and what I will say about that whole community in general, just Western equestrian sports, is like, the most part, it's a good community of people, and mounted shooters especially. Like, the national anthem is played at every event. Everybody stands. There's always a prayer. People look out for you. It's like, I mean, it's just a great, wholesome American community, and it's been a real fun like adventure. Finding the sport, and then now just traveling around. You see all your friends, and it's great, man. I mean, and this, and I think that's how it goes with like a lot of, not just mounted shooting, but any other thing you're into. If you're into, skydiving or jujitsu or motocross or whatever, like, you find people who like what you do, and if and that's it. It's um, so yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I feel like we talked about quite a few things. I imagine we glazed over a lot of life experience. But one of my favorite questions is kind of throughout all of this, is there anything that you learned that you don't feel like you get to share with people a whole lot, or maybe you wish you'd have known that could have helped you, or that you just want people to know in general? And then that could be anything about military, finding, purpose again, finding something you identify, getting happy, whatever the case may be. It's my
Yeah,
favorite
I
loaded
think
question.
yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, I'm a firm believer, I don't always necessarily believe in luck. I always say it's, when opportunity meets preparation, it's really what I say. Um, you know, you've got to be prepared, to take advantage of those opportunities when they come. And that's what it is. And that's what luck is all about. It's like, whether you're, training for an event, like in my sport, you just keep training and then and hope the opportunities eventually will present themselves, or just like in life. I mean, like got remarried, um, and I was, I was prepared mentally, just if whatever happens, and then just out of nowhere, I ended up meeting, my current wife, and I feel like the luckiest guy in the world. Um, but you can't force things. I feel like in life, you just gotta like kind of let them happen, and also just enjoy the process. I think the most profound thing that was said to me the other day, it was my 10-year-old daughter. She said it to her figure skating coach. She said, "I don't care about winning any medals. I just want to skate well."
Yeah.
That's what she said before she went on the ice at a competition. And I thought to myself, wow, like my 10-year-old daughter has got to figure it out, just that, to enjoy the process, to not always be fixated on the outcome. Um, and I feel like that's, for me, particularly when I left the military until now, you know, I've never always been, when I did focus on the outcome of what, hey, I need to be this, or I should be that, or I need to get to point B, it never happened.
Yeah.
I just sort of, and every time I just sort of let go and just said, hey, you know, I'm just going to work hard and expose myself to new things and be open to trying new things and meeting new people. Just things happen, and good things will happen. And just to enjoy that process. So,
Yeah.
um,
It's interesting that you say that, because I had a similar conversation and I can't remember for the life of me who I was talking to, but I had a match last last weekend, maybe. I don't really, yeah, I think it was last weekend. And my reloads weren't spectacular, so I kind of had this predisposition that it was like it's kind of going to be a wash, whatever. I'm going to go have fun, kind of to the point of enjoying the process, just kind of go shoot. And I had a podium finish, which I don't think I've ever had, right? But it was just
yeah,
wild because it was like I just went and was like, dude, whatever happens, happens. I'm here to have fun. And I think it's, because of that, that you end up doing better, because you're not worried about every other thing that could possibly go wrong. Because it's like, I'm just here
yeah,
to be here.
you're
So
you're
it's
right.
weird how
Yeah,
that
because
works.
yeah, I mean you're right. That's a good example. Yeah, if you're focused on the outcome, you're going to be focused on all the little things that you might do right or wrong that are supposed to get you there, versus just like being in the moment and having fun. And yeah, you're right. And like, again, even my daughter that other day, yeah, she came in, I think she came in second, and
Yeah.
she got a medal, and that's, I know. And that's kind of like been a reminder for me in competition and just, again, life. And I feel like I've lived that way for the most of my life. But when you don't, that's, yeah, you're right. It's when it doesn't work out. Um, so yeah, it's a good sort of way to think about things.
Yeah. That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything else you want to maybe talk about or share, or get out there that you're like, man, this is important to me and we didn't get to it?
No, I mean, Nothing I can think of. I mean, I think I just encourage guys out there, if you've left like, military or, elite sports or something, don't be afraid just to get out there and try new things. Like if you're just kind of stuck in your, rut of fucking changing diapers or sitting on the couch every night, like go try new things, meet people, find something else that you identify with and makes you feel like passionate about and makes you feel like a man again. Because life's too short, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Drew, once again, man, thank you for taking the time. I enjoyed our conversation, and I look forward to harassing you again at some point in the future, whether maybe another interview or just sitting down to BS. But otherwise, everybody, I hope you all took something away from this, whether that's getting involved in some cowboy mounted shooting or maybe getting some motivation to find whatever it is that you enjoy and find a way to jump out of whatever mundane rut you might think you're in. But otherwise, I hope you all have a great week, and we will catch you next time.